Welcome back to CIA Declassified. The document is officially indexed as CIA RDP 9600788R 001700210006-5. To a casual archivist, it is a 29-page memorandum titled Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process, but to those who have studied the intersection of intelligence and the impossible, it is a map of the human soul written in cold clinical language, the language of the United States Army. Welcome back. This is the fourth pillar of our series on the CIA's gateway declassifications. To understand the scale of what we are discussing today, you must have the foundation. If you haven't yet, you need to go back and listen to the Gateway Trilogy we've already produced. For instance, episode Reality is a SIMULACRUM, where we dismantled the Monroe Institute's Hemi-Sync mechanisms. Project Gateway, Global Data and Predictive Modeling, focusing on document CIAD 19961001009, the agency's attempt to use these states to forecast global events, and the holographic simulacrum, the reality hacking dossier, confirmed. Our deep dive into the CIA's verification that our physical world is an interference pattern projected from a higher dimension. Today we are looking at the structural silences. We are examining the redacted scars on the official record, the 30-year disappearance of page 25, the technical frequency blackouts, and the strategic erasures regarding entity interaction. We will speculate on what lies beneath the ink, but we must remember, in intelligence work, the blacked out lines are often more honest than the words that remain. For over 3 decades, the Gateway Report was incomplete. If you access the document from the CIA's CREST archive at any point between 2003 and 2021, you would reach page 24, a dense discussion on the absolute, and the next page would be page 26, the bibliography. Page 25 was a ghost. It wasn't just missing, it was as if it never existed. When the Monroe Institute finally released the missing page in 2021 following a massive FOIA campaign and public outcry, the official explanation was an administrative oversight. But when you look at the text of page 25, that explanation feels thin. Page 25 deals with the return and the belief system. It suggests that the gateway experience doesn't just reveal the universe as a hologram, it provides a mechanism for the individual to exit that hologram. Why suppress this specific page? One analytical theory is that the original draft of page 25 contained more than just the philosophical summaries we see today. Note that Lieutenant Colonel Wayne McDonnell was writing this for Commander Jake Verona at the Defense Intelligence Agency. The report was meant to assess the military application of consciousness. If the original version contained failure to reintegrate protocols, chilling documentation of what happens when a subject's consciousness fails to return to the physical body, it would represent a massive liability. Some researchers speculate that page 25 originally detailed a point of no return, a specific meditative state where the holographic connection to the physical shell is severed. The version we have now, released in 2021, might be a sanitized replacement scrubbed of the clinical data regarding subjects who lost their way back. The technical heart of the gateway process is the frequency following response, or FFR. McDonald describes this using the physics of entrainment. If you play a 100 hertz tone in the right ear and a 104 hertz tone in the left, the brain hears the difference, a 4 hertz beat, and aligns its internal electrical activity to that frequency. However, in the declassified PDF, there are specific surgical redactions following the mention of specific hertz ranges required for phase 3 operations. These aren't names of people. These are numbers. Why redact a number? In the world of electronic warfare, a frequency is a signature. If the CIA discovered a repeatable golden frequency that induces an out-of-body state with 100% reliability, that frequency becomes a strategic asset. In our episode on global data and predictive modeling, we saw how the agency used Gateway for remote viewing of Soviet sites. If you redact the exact tuning numbers, you prevent foreign adversaries from replicating the most potent version of the experiment. We speculate that these redactions hide the resonance peaks, specific audio signatures that bypass the brain's analytical filters entirely. This is brain hacking at the hardware level. The CIA didn't want the public to have the IP address for the higher dimensions. On page 21 of the report, MacDonald shifts from physics to something much more uncomfortable. He begins discussing the, quote, absolute, end quote, in the nature of non-physical consciousness. There are sections where the grammar suggests a list of observations. One sentence begins, quote, interaction with, ... followed by a heavy black bar that consumes 3 full lines of text. We have to look at this in the context of other declassified programs like Project Stargate and Operation Sunstreak. Remote viewers like Ingo Swann and Pat Price frequently reported encountering, quote, non-human intelligences, end quote, or, quote, shadow entities, end quote, during deep state sessions. These redactions appear to be rules of engagement. Based on the surrounding context, we can speculate that the CIA was documenting a social hierarchy within the astral plane. Were they hiding the names of these entities, or more disturbingly, were they hiding a diplomatic protocol? If the holographic simulacrum we discussed in episode 3 is indeed a programmed reality, these redactions might be representative of the most sensitive cables in human history, the transcript of our first tentative contact with the system administrators of our universe. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Gateway Report is its bibliography. It cites quantum physicists, but there are citations in the original internal memo that have been completely struck through. The CIA was attempting to marry high-woo mysticism with hard Newtonian physics. By redacting the specific scientific papers that MacDonald used to bridge the gap, they left the Gateway process in a state of scientific limbo. It makes the document look more like a philosophical rambling than a technical manual. This is a classic intelligence tactic. Delegitimization through omission. If you remove the hard science that supports the impossible claims, the public will dismiss the report as a curiosity rather than a threat. We speculate that the redacted citations pointed to experimental data regarding quantum decoherence and its relationship to human neural pathways data that remains classified to this day because it proves that the brain is a quantum receiver, not just a biological computer. Perhaps the most dangerous part of the report is the concept of patterning. MacDonald explains that because the universe is a hologram, a focused consciousness can project a desired outcome into the interference pattern, essentially coding a change in physical reality. But as soon as the report gets into the how-to, the actual visualization techniques used by the Army, the document becomes a wall of black ink. The CIA is fine with us knowing the theory of reality hacking. They aren't fine with us having the tools. The redacted portions of the patterning segment likely contain specific rhythmic breathing patterns and mental focal points used to lock a thought into the holographic matrix. The erasures, the practical application to ensure that the power to edit the simulation remained a state secret. We are left staring at the black ink, trying to read the impressions left by the pen. The Gateway process remains a bridge between the laboratory and the cathedral, a testament to a time the United States government decided to map the infinite. But while the CIA was looking inward at the mind, they were also looking outward at the skies, and specifically at the technical advancements of our rivals. Join us in our next episode as we examine the declassified 2021 D&I report in the Clearwater files. We will dive into the CIA's secret analysis of Chinese trans-medium UAPs, craft that appear to move from the vacuum of space to the depths of the ocean without a ripple, and the declassified intelligence suggesting that Beijing may have recovered materials that defy our understanding of the periodic table. Until then, I'll see you in the archives.